Hi everyone, it's Miss Jess here. I'm going to be reading us a story today called The Quilt Story. It's written and illustrated by Tony Johnston and Tomie dePaola. The Quilt Story. A little girl's mother made the quilt to keep her warm when the snow came down long ago. She stitched the quilt by a yellow flame, humming all the time. She stitched the tails of falling stars, and she stitched the name, Abigail. Abigail loved the quilt. She wrapped it around her in the quiet dark and watched the winter skies. Sometimes she saw a falling star. Sometimes Abigail played in the woods near her home. She had tea, her dolls had tea, and the quilt had tea all over it. Sometimes she pretended the quilt was a gown. She wore it to town on her horse. Clop, clop, clop. And it tore. So her mother stitched it up once more. Sometimes she played hide and seek with her sisters. She laughed and cried, "Don't peek," and hid under the quilt, and everyone found her. Sometimes Abigail was sick. She sneezed and sneezed. Then she slept under the quilt, and she felt better. Here's her sisters playing hide and seek with Abigail. Oh, the kitten's looking too. Here she is when she feels sick. I've felt sick before. I wonder, have you felt sick before? Did something special like a blanket make you feel better? Her kitty cat came to watch over her too. One day, Abigail's family moved away, across wide rivers and over a rock-hard trail. The quilt went too. Not stuffed in trunks with the blankets and clothes, it kept the little girls warm from the wild winds, warm from the rain, warm from the sparkling nights. Do you see how they're traveling? They're traveling in something called a covered wagon. Maybe the story takes place a long time ago. They built a new house in the wood. Abigail's father built it with his hatchet. Chop, chop, chop. He built her a new bed. Chip, chip, chip. He made her a new horse too. He worked until curly shavings covered the floor, and everyone sneezed and said, "Welcome home," and was glad. And Abigail felt sad. The new house, the new bed, and Abigail and the new pony. But look at her face. She looks sad, and her family looks worried for her. New house, new horse, new bed. Everything in the house smelled of fresh chops and chips. Everything but the quilt. So her mother rocked her as mothers do, then tucked her in, and Abigail felt at home again under the quilt. Does a special grown-up hold you and rock you when you feel sad? I hope so. It's one of the best ways to feel better. One day when the quilt was very old and very loved, Abigail folded it carefully and put it in the attic. Everyone forgot it was there. It's tucked away in the attic. A gray mouse came and loved the quilt. Her babies were born on top of it. They grew fat and gray in the warm stuffing. When they got hungry, they ate a falling star. Do you See the mouse and her family. A raccoon came and loved the quilt. She dug a hole in the corner with black paws and hid an apple there. Look who came to love the quilt next. The kitty cat. A cat came and loved the quilt. A patchwork cat. It rolled on the stars and stuffing spilled out like snow. Then the cat curled up in the snow and purred. Kitty, kitty, cried a girl. She found her cat, and she found the quilt splashed with patterns of sun. The little girl wrapped the quilt around her. She loved it too. Is this the same girl as before? Or do you think maybe it's the little girl's in the beginning's daughter? Let's see. Can you make it like new? She asked her mother. Look, it looks like they're in a different time than they were before. Maybe it is the little girl from before's daughter. So her mother patched the holes. She pushed fresh stuffing in. She stitched long tails on the stars to swish across the quilt again. One day, the little girl's family moved away across miles and miles of pavement and snaking gray highways. See, even the houses look different. They're using cars now instead of covered wagons. It must be a different time, and it must be a different little girl. They found a new house, freshly cleaned, freshly waxed, freshly painted, white. But like the first little girl, look at how this little girl seems to feel. They unpacked and unpacked all night. And everyone sneezed on cardboard dust and said, "Welcome home," and was glad. But the little girl felt sad. Just like the first little girl felt sad when she first moved. Do you remember? They both felt sad. Here's the new little girl. Everything smelled of white paint and boxes. Everything but the quilt. So her mother rocked her as mothers do, then tucked her in, and she felt at home again under the quilt. That's the end of the story. Do you see the pretty quilt that was stitched for the first little girl and the second little girl who also got the quilt? I know this is a story that can be confusing sometimes. People think that the first little girl and the second little girl are the same, but we can see by pictures that things are different. Like this little girl, she has pigtails with ribbons on top of her hair. And this little girl has pigtails with ribbons on the bottom of her hair. We can also tell that this little girl is wearing a dress that looks older in fashion than this little girl who's wearing overalls. A long time ago, little girls only were able to wear dresses. And then, over time, little girls could wear overalls like this. So we can tell that it's two different times and two different girls. But maybe they're from the same family. I hope that you enjoyed that story with your family. I'll see you again next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.